Okay, let's get started. So first off, you'll need to go to the Gumroad page and download the instructions PDF. This will give you a step-by-step guide on how to install the Creator Companion, how you download the specific packages you need, and which order to install them in. I would highly suggest you use that step-by-step guide. I'm not going to talk through in great detail here, other than you do need a new project. You shouldn't use an old project or a project that uses different avatars. There could be conflicts, and the safest and easiest way to get yourself set up would be to start a brand new project. If you're using an older version of the Rabbit, I would also suggest you use a new project, and then you can import your old textures and note down your body type, your body shapes, to just set up a rabbit in here. The reason I suggest you do that is that there are really significant changes between the older versions of the project and this new version. It's not just a slight update with the mesh or the way that the clothing is set up. A lot of things have changed, and trying to combine those two versions will probably end up taking you longer than it would do if you just made a new project and just imported some old files. Okay, so once you've installed the avatar and gone through this process, you can, you will hopefully get to this point. Again, if you don't see rabbits in your scene, then all you need to do is you need to go and just navigate to your scene folder, which is in assets. So here you go to Crispy Bunny, go to your scenes, and then just double click on Rabbit PC. You will see two different bases. One is a masculine base and one is a feminine base. There's very little difference. Obviously, the main difference being that the feminine base has boob physics, the masculine base doesn't. It's really there just for a little bit of an improvement on performance for the masculine base, because you have a couple less scripts running at when you're actually in VRChat. That's the main reason. Because of that, you will find there are a couple of different versions of the clothing bases. Just make sure you use the correct masculine or feminine one for your clothing, and you should be great. Okay, so obviously you can just upload these avatars the way they are. Currently, all they have on them are the basic hair and the carrot. You will notice for old-time users of the avatar that these are now in different places. The way that the accessories work, for every accessory for the rabbit, you can just drag and drop onto the avatar now. So say for some reason deleted or didn't even want the carrot, you can just literally select it and just delete it, and it's the same with the hair. You can just select and delete, and now you can see here there's no carrot and there's no hair on the avatar. To add those back in, all you need to do is come back out to assets, go into the accessories folder, and then just find the folders for those particular accessories. So for the carrot, just go into carrot and then just drag and drop. For the hair, just go into hair, find the specific hair for the avatar. So this one's PC, and then just again drag and drop. It's that easy to add assets. You always need to make sure that you add an accessory or an asset to the actual base of the avatar, so this piece of text. And clothing works in a very similar way. So let's go back out to the accessories folder. Let's look at the different clothing options we have as default. So these are the ones that come with the base rabbit. We have a hoodie, we have shirts and shorts, and we have a arm and leg warmers. Let's drop the arm and leg warmers on first. So again, you go into that folder and you'll see the warmers base, and so you have to have the base. There's all of these different pieces of clothing. They all have a base. If you go into the hoodie, you'll see that there's a masculine and feminine version of the hoodie. Make sure you pick the right one. Go into that folder, and again you have the hoodie base, and each one of them has this little blue box next to it. So let's go back out to accessories and go into our warmers again. Let's select warmers, and then we're going to drag them on and drop them. Make sure you highlight this when you let go, and it will just appear at the bottom of this list of items that you currently have attached to your rabbit. You'll notice that they're not currently on. They are switched off because default wise most of the clothing is switched off as default. When it is uploaded, all of the clothing is set to off as default. You go into your menu and you'll see that there will be options for arm warmers and leg warmers. If you do want to physically see how a piece of clothing looks on the avatar, you can open up the prefab. These are all called prefabs, by the way. And what you'll find is if you just select this little grey arrow here and just click it once, you'll see what's inside the prefab. And the majority of them, certainly for the clothing, you'll have an armature, which are the bones, and then you have a mesh, and that's usually just called the same as the actual clothing. So if we select the mesh, you'll notice that this is currently just the whole thing selected and it's just grey. If you select the warmers, you're now selecting the mesh, and you can see this is now gone orange, and there's a bunch of extra stuff appeared on this side. Now you have your blend shapes, and that changes the physical shape of the warmers or any of the clothing. And then as you scroll further down, you also have the material, and that controls the texture that appears on the actual clothing. So all the bits of clothing have an off and on state, and those are controlled by blend shapes. So we're going to scroll down to near the bottom of here. You'll see these two are switched on, they're at 100%, and those are the blend shapes that switch off the warmers. And if you turn those to 0, you'll see in the scene view the avatar now has warmers on. Don't worry if your clothing doesn't fit properly. The VRC Fury script that you installed at the start, that actually goes through and it will fix all of these and set all the clothing to be the same shape as your body. So your order clothing will fit when it gets uploaded, but you don't do it in here. So now you can see that you have your stripy pink warmers. If you wanted to change your warmers to a different texture, you basically have to go and edit your material. So you can just go down to the materials and just click once here, and that will appear. And then now you're in the materials folder for the warmers, and what you can see is this is the current material that's being used. I selected that once, and now you can see in the inspector window you have all the different options for that material. So what you'll see here is you have a few different images that are attached to the material. These are those, and you have a color that is the background color for the material. If you wanted to change that, you could, or what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to show you very quickly how to replace this material with something else. So again, you click on mesh, and again, everything works in the same way. If you wanted to click on the mesh for the hair, you would, and it comes up as orange. Click down here, it comes up as orange, and over in this side, you scroll down, this is the material that it's using. You can now come in here, and I've just duplicated this and called it personal, and I'm now just going to drag this in over here and let go. And now as you can see, this is now a new material, and the material in here has updated. All I did here to change the colors, I just clicked into, if I click into the material, you can see the new material that I've added. All I've done is change this color, and you can see if I just scroll this round, you can see the color changes a little. Now, this is a really quick and dirty way of changing the color here. It's not really changing the physical pink to a different color. What it's doing is it's just tinting the whole material. So it's not a really great way of changing the colors. Best way of changing the colors is to use Substance Painter and repaint the textures in Substance Painter and export another set of images here. Okay, so that's how you add clothing. Let me just reset these. Best thing to do is to reset these before you upload. So I'm just going to reset those. I'm also just going to switch back to the default material. There we go. So that's going to be pink again. If you see now that a pink again. So we have our warmers. They're on. We have our hair, and we have a carrot. Let's also add our shirts and shorts. So in shirts and shorts, we have two bases. We have our femme base and our masculine base. Obviously, we're using a masculine base at the moment, so we'll drag that in, just like we've done with the others. And with these shirts and shorts, again, it's hidden. With the shirts and shorts, you also need to decide on your styles. It's slightly different to the way that some of the others work. Basically, what you're doing is you're deciding whether you want tank tops or crop tops, or whether you want long, medium, or short shorts. So say you want a orange tank top, you literally do the same thing as you've done with everything else. You just drag on your style and let go. And now you will, in your menu options, you'll have an orange tank top in your menu options. So you also want a cute pink crop top, you can drag that on, and now you'll have a pink crop top in your menu options. So you want to have the matching shorts for that. You just pick your pink shorts, drag that on, and again now you'll have your pink shorts. It's kind of that easy, really, really simple to work with. And that is kind of that, I think. I will just quickly just show you the earrings. The earrings are, again, same thing, drag and drop. You now have earrings. By default, you just have the two earrings on either side. You can, if you want, open up, go down to the earrings mesh, come over to this side, and you'll see the blend shapes, and you'll see that these are the two earrings that are currently displayed. You can switch on a bunch of other earrings if you want. There's actually 4 on either side. So you can either have them all on, or you can switch them on and off as you want. If you just want one on one side, you can just switch all the others off. And like that, and there we go. Now you just have a single earring. Yeah, and that's that. I don't think there's anything else that I need to show you here. The only other thing that I think is probably worth showing some of the newbies is if we go back to the base. If you want to change the body texture, again you just select body, and you again scroll all the way down. And what you'll see is in the materials section, you see your body, which is currently the grey body. You have your two eyes, left and right eye, and then you have a lens that goes over the eyes. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to try to drag and drop directly onto the avatar, because what it'll do is it'll fill up that fourth slot, which you don't want to do for the eyes. You want to fill these two slots with whatever. So if you want to change this to green eyes, again, you just select it and go and drag and drop over here, and now the avatar has green eyes. If you want to change the body, we can just again select that body. We can now see where all the materials are for the body. We can see that it's currently using the grey. If you want to use the pale, maybe we can just drag it in, and now again we have a different coloured base. You can make your own materials, just drop them into, my suggestion is you actually drop them into your own personal materials folder that is separate from the Crispy Bunny sort of base folders. So my suggestion is you come back out here and make yourself a personal folder. Again, just do this, type in personal, and then copy in any pre-existing or any new text, any new materials and texture files into here, because then when there's an update for the rabbit, you don't have files might be overwritten, which you wouldn't want to be overwritten. So that's probably the best way of doing that. And if you do want to make new sort of base files, so for the Crispy Bunny, let's say we're going to the actual materials folder here. Say you wanted to make a different version of the brown. You had your own avatar, you had your own material that you wanted to make. my suggestion is you always duplicate the material before you start working or editing something. What that will mean is that if there is an update, it will update this with the new revised version that I may provide for you. It won't overwrite your personal one because you've duplicated it. What you tend to find is that if you just change a name that's already there, when the update happens, there's an ID for each file in the project, and it will sometimes just overwrite the file even if you've changed the name. So yeah, anyway, maybe going into a little bit too much detail there, but yeah, that's how you do that. So again, you want to put this one, this is your personal body, and again we can just come to here, scroll down here, and again I can just drag into Pale, and now this is your personal body, which happens to be the brown version. And what we can do is we can just come out of here, find our personal folder, and we're just going to drag that into our personal folder. You can do the same thing for the hair, so we don't want the hair to be like that. Let's go here, let's go into the accessories, find our hair, go to PC hair. We're going to go to the materials. We're going to find the blonde hair that we currently have. We're going to duplicate it. We can make this into our personal hair. We're going to go over to this side, and we can change the color here, but before that we're going to put it onto the hair. So we're going to open up this, select hair, and then we're going to drag in the personal hair into our blonde hair, and now we have, it looks identical currently, but again we'll just select our material, we'll go up to this, and we'll change this using the color picker to, let's make a nice brown, a slightly browner hair, slightly darker hair, maybe something a little bit like, let's make it really dark, there we go, so nice dark hair for this rabbit. Okay, and again, super easy to do. Again, I would move this out of here, move it into your personal materials folder, and yeah, that's how that works. There's just one more thing to do with clothing before we move on to anything else. We have a actual clothing or a shorts shirts style generator. You can get to that by coming up to Tools, and there's a Crispy Bunny Generate Clothing Style option. And what that does is it opens up a little panel, and in here what you have is you have the name. So we can call this jeans, for example. We have an ID. That is the ID for this particular style. You just need to make sure that if you use a style of shirt or shorts, that it is not the same number that you're currently using, and that's good. So 50 is fine. We want to make some jeans, so we want to make a medium shorts. And then what we can now do is we can go into our accessories, and I actually have one already set up. Let's just go to that. Go into the materials, and these are all the different materials that are used for the shirts and the shorts. You actually have some blank ones here. The ones we are going to be looking at changing or looking at adding are these blue jeans here. So we're going to just drag that in to here, and then we can literally just press generate, and it will now tell you that it's made a shorts jeans asset in the folder assets clothing, sort of clothing styles. So let's go find that. So assets, and then it's made a new folder called clothing styles, and we have our shorts here. We'll double click into that, and we now have our jeans. And just like all the other things, we can just drag that in, and that will appear there. And then we now have jean shorts, as well as all these other styles of shorts as well. And again, you have to make sure you have the shorts shirt base before you can add your styles to them. So that's that. Okay, and let's talk about changing the body shape of the rabbit. For new people, I'll just quickly talk about the blend shapes and how you get to them. For old people, I'll talk about the ways that things have changed in the last update. So you will select your avatar, and more specifically, you'll select the body, which again is the mesh. We've talked about this before. Then you go over to the right hand side to the inspector panel, and you'll see all the blend shapes listed down here. There's lots for the body. These first few you don't want to touch. They're all for just the different facial expressions and being able to animate you talking in VRChat. The things that you can change to an extent, some of the H underscore, which are the head blend shapes, and the majority of the B underscore, which are the body blend shapes, you can edit. Personally, I wouldn't change too many of the head ones, specifically the ones to do with the eyes and the mouth shapes. Those tend to be used quite heavily with the facial expressions, so those will probably be overwritten for you when you upload the avatar anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about changing things like how much you smile, because there's already smiling animations for the avatar in when you actually control it in VRChat. The things you can change are things like you can make the eyeliner much heavier and much more sort of like, so it looks like you have a little bit more sort of eyelashes, so you can do that. You can make the eyes a little bigger. Personally, I've never been hugely happy with that, but you can, if you want, make them a little bit bigger. I tend to find maybe 10%, just a little bit bigger, works well. Much over that, and they start to look a little bit strange. You can, if you want, change things like the iris size, which, as you can see, is changing the whole size of the interior eye. That is, again, there are actual animations within VRChat that change that, so that may not be visually as obvious when you're actually in VRChat that's been changed. However, there are a few more physical. It's the physical whole shape of the head. You can make the head slimmer. It's just a little. These are very small changes, but in VRChat they do make quite a big difference. You can change the fluff, so you can. Let me just move the camera around a little bit more. You can make the fluff go away completely, or you can make it a little bit more excessive. You can also add different styles. So these are some of the older styles, so they're a bit more stylized. But if you want a specific shape, you can always go with that. Let's set that back to 50. I think it was at 50. You can also change the ear shape as well to an extent. So currently it's just set to shaped. If you remove the shape, it goes quite sort of straight. You can put a point on the ears, which I quite like. You can, if you want, you can also make them quite rounded, and these work quite well for lop ears. I find you can sort of mix that a little bit with the shapes, with the shape, to get quite a nice sort of refined, sort of very rounded upper part of the ear, which again can work well if you're doing lop ears a lot. Okay, we shall just put those back up to where they were. When it comes down to the body blend shapes, most of them are usable for both male and for both the masculine and feminine. You can do breasts. For the masculine avatar, there's no physics on them, but if you just say you wanted just to have a slight extra sort of curve, you could just put the breasts up just a tiny bit, maybe to like maybe 15% or something, would give you a bit more of a bit more to the breast. And you can do this with the feminine rabbit as well, and so you can make the breasts a little bit more, a little smaller if you wanted. That's completely doable. You can also make both rabbits quite rotund, a little bit chubby. Again is quite good, and you can mix all these blend shapes together. So you could have, if you wanted a much more sort of buff rabbit, you could have that rabbit so that there's a bit more sort of chunkiness to the main body. And then if you go down here, let me see if I can find it. There we go. There's arms buff. What that does is that chunks up the whole upper body and makes it much more refined, so much more defined. Sorry. So you can have a much more beefy rabbit if you want. There's a few other options to help with that. If you would like a much skinnier rabbit, you can do that as well. You can reduce the sort of the hip size, so you can really take that right down. Which again, I know some people aren't so much into that, so you can do that if you want. You can really go full on, and if you want a super excessive butt, you can do that. What else? Make the arms thinner, or keep them at that. You don't want to change these two. These flexing. This is animated in games, so when you flex your arms, your upper biceps will actually flex. So you can leave those the way they are. You can put claws. If you've actually got claws on your avatar, you'll notice that, you'll notice that these appear here. These top ones will probably best to actually draw these in. So you'll see here that there's no actual texture on these at the moment. You actually paint these to the color you want on your texture in Substance Painter as just little dots. And what you'll see is that these just expand out from the end of your fingers. So that's why they currently don't have any material on them. You can do that in Substance Painter. Let me see. You can switch off your beans. So here you'll see that the beans are flattened out. Some people don't want beans on their rabbit. That is perfectly fine. And again, in Substance Painter, when you paint your rabbit, you just don't put the beans on, and you can switch the beans off, or you can blend the beans out in Unity by doing that. What else? You have your foot claws, and these ones you can actually these ones do oh my god, let me just, oh dear me, there we go. So these ones again can go in and out, so you can either have them sort of fully in or actually fully out, and they become quite large at that point. What else? Again, just the last few, again, the buff legs. So if you had your buff, your main, your upper body was also buff, you could also sort of get your calves going quite, quite thick calves, and a lot of bicycling. All of the MC underscore blend shapes, those ones, you shouldn't be using those at all. Leave those all off. I know that it might be tempting to try to switch on, your shorts or whatever. There's no shorts on the base avatar. These are all just controlled for animations. When you switch on your clothing, these pop on, and they basically help to prevent clipping with the actual main body. What you have here, you have S underscore, and these are for the species. So there's a few for the ears, so back and lop, you don't want to change these. These are for when the actual avatar goes into a lop or back ear position. You don't touch these. These are only switched on when the actual controller tells them the ears to go into those positions. And again, you can switch to a lop or a like a back ear position in the menu in VRChat. You can change the size of the feet. The bunny feet that just changes the physical height and makes the feet super big. So if you wanted to make an avatar that wasn't really a bunny, maybe was something else, you can switch that off, and now you have much more standard sort of just paws, I suppose. You can also there are also a couple of other different types of species here. You've got squirrel ears. Those just make the ears very straight and pointy. And I'm looking at making other avatar variations on using this base that will allow you to have different types of rodent sort of styles, I suppose. So we've currently got some squirrel ears. We have general rodent, which are sort of mouse and rat ears as well. Which, if you see that, I just throw that on. with a little bit of work changing the ear dimensions, those actually end up looking like really quite nice ratty ears. You can also completely remove the tail. If you want a different tail on your avatar, you can actually just shrink that right down, that goes, and then you can just attach something else to your tail instead. That's it. You don't want to be changing any of these fixes. These are just for things like making sure that there's no clipping when you put on clothing again, for clothing interacting with other bits of clothing. That's about it, really. Hopefully that is not too complex and not too detailed for you. If you have an old version, as I said, if you have an old version of the avatar, a lot of these will be named different, but I'm hoping that they are well enough organized now that you'll be able to find which ones you were using. Almost all of these have complete they are just old blend shapes, just with better descriptive names. So yeah, that's that. I think that's probably it. Let's see how it goes. Get your avatars in. If you have any issues or any questions, just come to the Discord and let me know. Okay. Well, have a good day, and see you in VR chat.